All right, so this is for section 8, topic 5, the check your understanding questions. First, we're going to start with number 1. All righty, so what additional information is necessary to prove that SILY is a parallelogram? All right, so let's go through each of these answer choices and see what's helpful. So far, all we know is that these sides, that this bisected that side, okay? If we knew that YI bisected, so YI if we knew that that bisected SL, okay, in a parallelogram, diagonals do bisect each other, so that would be something good to know, okay. But they already told us that in this equation, in this picture here. They told us that YI bisected SL. So we already know that. So I'm not going to choose that one. The other one says YI is congruent to SL. Okay, so remember, diagonals are not congruent in all parallelograms. Okay, in certain ones they are, but not all of them. So we're not going to choose that one. YM YM is congruent to MI. Okay, that would be good to know. Okay, if they told us that that was true, that would mean that SL bisected YI. Okay, so far what they told us is YI bisects SL. Okay, but we need to know that these are congruent as well. So that one is a good choice. So I'm going to highlight that one because that is something that we would need to know. But let's just check that last one just to be sure. Okay. SL is congruent to SI. All right, SL is right here. SI is up top here. So SI and SL. Okay, those do not have to be congruent, and they don't even look congruent. So that's definitely not it. So for question number 1, I would choose answer choice C. All right, number 2. Complete the 2-column proof. I know how much we love proofs. Okay, hopefully this one won't be too bad. All right, it said, given that QUA, so triangle QUA, QUA is this triangle here, is congruent to triangle AGQ. So those two triangles are congruent. All right, so remember, as soon as we know that those two triangles are congruent, let's just, instead of highlighting those, let's mark our arc marks. All right, so QU is going to be congruent to AG. UA is going to be congruent to GQ. Okay. How do we know that? Okay, we looked at that. Once we know that those triangles are congruent, we know that their corresponding sides are congruent. So the answer for number 2 is going to be this one, the CPCTC. Remember, CPCTC is all corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, so corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. All right, as soon as we know those triangles are congruent, we know all of those pieces that are corresponding to each other are also congruent. Okay, so we know QU is congruent to GA, and we know GQ is congruent to UA, just like that says, and that's CPCTC. All right, reason number 2. So why do we know that QUAG is a parallelogram just based off of that information? Okay. What did we just say? Okay, we said that the opposite sides were congruent, right? All right, so let's look at this. First one says definition of parallelogram. It's not really the definition of a parallelogram. Okay. A parallel, that one isn't my favorite answer choice, so let's try number B. A parallelogram has 2 pairs of opposite congruent sides. Okay, that's what we had just stated right before, okay? That the opposite sides were congruent. Okay, so maybe. Number C, letter C, a parallelogram is 2 pairs of opposite congruent angles. We never said anything about congruent angles, so I wouldn't say that. So answer choice B is probably going to be your best bet because that's literally what we stated right before. Okay, we gave that 2 pairs of opposite sides were congruent. So that would be your answer choice. All right, and lastly, number 3, for quadrilateral GRAB, which of the following would not be sufficient information to prove that it is a parallelogram? So not be sufficient. So what would not be enough information? Okay, so if we said, so let's draw this parallelogram. GRAB. Alrighty, so what would not be enough information is what it's asking. So if RA was parallel to GB, so if RA was parallel to GB and RG is parallel to AB. All right, this is saying opposite sides are parallel. A parallelogram, by definition, is when opposite sides are parallel. So I would hang on to that one. All right, answer choice B says RA is parallel to GB. Okay, and RA is congruent to GB. So it's saying that they are parallel. The one side is parallel and congruent. So if we know that they're parallel and congruent, okay, that doesn't say anything about the other side, okay? Because we could say that they're parallel and congruent, okay? But, if opposite sides are parallel, so RA and GB, and then RA and GB are congruent. Oh, so we're looking for not sufficient, because that would be sufficient as well. Okay, because if we know that one set of opposite sides are parallel and congruent, the other ones are also going to be parallel and congruent. Okay, so that one is good. That's enough information. All right, RA is congruent to GB, so saying that they're congruent. All right, so RA is congruent to GB, and then RG is congruent to AB. All right, so that one's saying that opposite sides are congruent. All right, in a parallelogram, yes, opposite sides are congruent, so that's good. All right, and then the last one that they gave us, they say that RA is parallel to GB. Okay, so they're saying these are parallel. So far, so good. And then RA is congruent to RG. All right, so this one would not be sufficient, okay, because they're not saying that they're not giving us enough information. Okay, just knowing that these sides are parallel and then these adjacent sides are congruent is not enough to prove that the whole thing is congruent. Okay, because this could be, it's not a parallelogram. Okay, let me give you an example showing you why that's true. Sorry, not pretty. All right, so we've got parallel sides. Okay, they're parallel. Okay, and sorry, this isn't pretty. All right, I mean, not the best drawing. Maybe it helps, maybe it didn't. Okay, but you can have a picture where the sides are parallel and those are congruent, and it's not parallelogram. Like this one, this side would not be congruent to this side. Okay, or parallel. All right, so hopefully that helps you. D would be your answer to that one. That's not enough information. Okay, I'm going to do that in red to explain that's not enough information. Okay, that's why that's the right answer. Okay, not sufficient enough. All three of those would be enough information. This one would not. All right, so hopefully that was helpful. If you have any further questions, please message me on Remind or comment below.